first dabbled into the subject of caricature when I took the Jason Seller Schoolism online class, and I would highly recommend you guys to take the same class if you are serious about learning caricature. In this video, I will be sharing some of the techniques that I use in my caricature. It's a synthesis of what I learned in the Jason Seller class and also from my own observation and experience of drawing the realistic human portrait. For caricatures, there are two shapes that you can play with on the human head. The first shape is the two triangles that make up the main facial features, the eyes, nose, and lip. By distorting the shape of these two triangles, you can produce different results. For example, if I compress the two triangles, you get something like this. If I elongate the triangles, you get something like this. Last example, I widen the bottom triangle, making the lip of the man a little bit wider. The next shape that you can play with is the shape of the head itself. You can distort it into any shape, be it a circle, a triangle, a rectangle, and even the shape of a banana. While the possibilities are endless, the caveat is that the person should still be recognizable after the distortion. Using the first example that we did, the man, his features are caricaturized, but you can no longer recognize this man. So this is actually a bad example. Therefore, it is important to first analyze the face and identify the main unique point about the subject's face. Is it one of the facial features like the nose? Is it the hair? Or is it the shape of the face? When starting out, it is therefore easier to find someone with striking features to do a caricature of. For example, it is easier to draw Jackie Chan compared to, say, Henry Golding. In this video, I will be showing you the process of my caricature drawing of Adam Driver's character in Star Wars, the new trilogy. His character Kylo Ren. So I've observed his features, and I note that his nose is probably the most prominent feature on his face. And I'm also highlighting his lip. He has this pursed lip that is quite his own signature. Right now I am more or less deconstructing the face, but adding some details that I would usually do when I'm drawing a portrait. If you are unclear on the process of deconstructing the face, how to break down the face to simpler bite-sized chunks, please refer to my earlier videos on how to draw the face. I noticed while drawing him that he kind of looks a little bit like Alan Rickman's character in Harry Potter, Professor Snape. I'm sure this comparison is pointed out by other fans, but it's just something that I've just noticed. When drawing, I like to indicate the shadow shapes. Basically, these are just markings that I make on the drawing that mark down where the shadow of the character is situated. Okay, for this example, I will do just some very simple shading, just using a single stroke hatching technique. I'm not even hatching based on the contour forms of the face. I'm just going in up and down kind of vertical movement. Just trying to do some quick indication of where the shadows are placed. Usually I like to also shade the upper lip, the bottom of the nose, and the bottom of the eyebrows, just to give a little bit of a sense of form and dimensionality to the drawing. I'm also doing a simple shading of the hair. Once again, I am not following any sort of a cross contour or anything. I'm just laying down shades to indicate that it's a dark area. Alright, right now I'm almost done with the drawing. On second look, I feel that it's not 100%. The resemblance is not really quite there. In fact, when I'm looking at this, it kind of reminds me of another Asian actor. Not sure if you guys are familiar with him. But to achieve likeness, it is quite difficult. You have to really observe the details. The difference between caricature and a portrait is that I'm not actually starting with a grid, because I do want to change the position of each facial feature. Okay, I think I'm more or less done with the line art. I'm happy enough with it to proceed to the painting stage. I'll show you a little bit of my painting process. Right now I'm just using some random textured brush just to give a little bit of texture on the canvas. I've added a few more reference images to help me with the painting process. Besides the original reference to the bottom of it, I have another photo of Kylo Ren with his scar being a little bit more prominent, because I noticed that I did not really add in that scar in the drawing stage. And I also have another reference image at the bottom, and this reference image will help me with the overall lighting and mood that I'm going for in this piece. This whole piece, from the drawing phase to the painting phase, took me about 3 hours, I think, plus minus, to complete. I did the sketch in one sitting and then the painting in another sitting. So I start the painting process of the character by first filling in the entire silhouette of the character in one shade, and then using clipping mask I paint in his skin. And during this phase I'm not doing any sort of toning. I'm just using the lasso tool, selecting areas that I want the colors to be, and then applying that color with more or less like a hard edge brush. I find that this process is much faster when during the initial stages when just applying color. My point of doing this is to try to achieve the final look as quick as possible before moving into detailing. You notice that I don't zoom in at all when doing this, because I'm not concerned with the minor details. I'm not concerned with going outside the lines. For the lighting, I am differing from the initial reference that I have, which is more of a blue tint the character is standing in a blue light scenario. I'm going for the one in the bottom, the reference image in the bottom, and I'm also inserting this lightsaber that is lighting the character from his right, the viewer's left. Okay, and I also want to have a little bit of a key light coming from our right side, the character's left side. Okay, I think I'm more or less done with blocking in the initial colors. As you can see, this process is fairly quick. The whole idea is to kind of have a sneak peek of the final tones using the least amount of time as possible, as humanely possible. Just adding a little bit of smoke in the background, give him a little bit of a mysterious vibe. The brushes I'm using is a combination of brushes that I got from other artists, brushes that I downloaded from somewhere years ago. Some of you guys are asking if I can share these brushes, unfortunately, because most of the brushes do belong to other artists. I can't share with you. The brush that I'm using right now is actually from Jason Seller. If you attend his caricature class, he does provide you a download link to get it. But I do like to use this brush when doing caricature because it gives me like a oil painting kind of brush texture to the painting. Makes it look a little bit more, traditional. So this is the process that I really enjoy. I really like to do like minor details, and I know that a lot of beginners do enjoy doing this as well, even though it looks like really tedious. But I think that's the fun part about painting. However, I do want to caution, especially people who just started, to jump too quickly into the process of detailing. It's kind of like this rabbit hole. You don't want to you don't want to move to this stage too quickly and without resolving some of the fundamental issues, especially with regards to drawing, with regards to the lighting even. All these decisions need to be made before you even move into detailing. But as I am detailing, I am constantly referring back to the first Kylo Ren reference image, making sure that I am being faithful to the placement of all the objects or all the facial features. Okay, for my students who are watching this, I have not covered the form principle as of right now, so I wouldn't go too deep into the jargon, but there are certain things that I'm doing here that are pertaining to that, like where I'm putting the shadows and stuff. When I'm drawing male characters, I like to give a little bit of green tint to the jaw area. It may look a bit weird at first when you're looking at this work in progress right now, but there's actually a lot of green in the male jaw, and this is because of our facial hair. It leaves this like green tint after you shave. I guess it also appears on the female head, but not so obvious from my observation at least. I've also read some explanation about why is this so, and I think if I recall correctly, it states that it's because it's the place of the it's the position of the head where it gets less blood, like it's more bony in that area anyways, so it appears greener as compared to like the nose. For the nose, I like to add in a little bit of a reddish tint to it. Okay, right now I am drawing in the detail of the scar. In general, even when I'm detailing, I try not to zoom in too much. It really depends on the required fidelity of the final image. If this is for a client work and the client requests for a higher level of detail, like it's supposed to be printed on a poster or stuff like that, you will really want to zoom in to 100% to really make sure. Right now I'm drawing this on a 4K by 4K canvas, so it's pretty large, but at the same time I'm only at the 25% zoom level, so what I'm seeing right now is maybe about 1000 by 1000 pixels. But working on a big canvas is important because especially when you're using a custom brush, because it gives you more details that the custom brush would offer. If you're using a 1K by 1K canvas, some of the details might be lost or becomes too fuzzy. One good thing that that will come out of not zooming in too much is that you get to see the entire painting while you're working on it. Of course, there are other methods of being able to see that should you need to zoom in a bit further into the painting. You can click on window and create a new window, a duplicate window of your existing painting to have another, zoom out view of your image while working on it. But for now, because I'm largely, unzoomed, I'm able to see the entire artwork at one glance, and this is quite important because you don't want to be too tunnel vision into any one single element. I'm always moving around, always checking to see if the lighting is consistent, always checking if the proportions are right. Even when I'm painting, I'm making sure that I don't undo the drawing that I've done. I didn't mention this before, but I did collapse the line art layer with my earlier kind of color block out. I did not erase the line art because I think that the hatching lines that I've created earlier actually does give a little bit more texture to the drawing, to the painting I mean, and it kind of adds this traditional kind of less digital vibe to the final output. One thing I learned through the years of doing digital art, learning about painting, is that you should avoid using pure black and pure white in your paintings. So you should avoid using pure black for the shadows. Over here I am trying to add in sort of like a purplish hue to the shadow, and for highlights avoid using pure white. I'm using like a very bright yellow, very bright and unsaturated yellow for the highlights. And the reason for this is because pure black and pure white would really flatten out and really take the life out of your subjects. Okay, at this point I realized that there are some things about the drawing I would like to edit. And even though I mentioned earlier that you should, as much as possible, try to fix everything before you move into the details, sometimes it is inevitable that during the painting process you will find some things that you would like to change. When I was first starting out, because of my working speed, I took very long to probably reach this level of completedness that you see right now, and it made me very hesitant to changes in the middle of the painting process, and that really took a toll in the final quality of the artwork, because even though I know that there's some mistakes there, I didn't want to change because at that time I already invested so many hours into painting, and I didn't want to repaint certain things. I didn't want to redraw certain things. For one, using digital, it means that it's a lot easier to make changes. You can use the liquify tool, you can use the lasso tool, select the area you want to make a change on, and use the transform tools to edit it. But I sort of learned that the hard way, of not changing stuff. But nowadays, once you are more familiar with the tools of your preferred software, I treat your drawing like a playground. You can do whatever you want. Don't be too afraid to make changes halfway through. For a male portrait like this, I am more okay with emphasizing some of his imperfections, like the scar, like this group of muscles over here on his cheekbone. Or is that the cheekbone? I'm not too sure. But all these details will help to bring out the character and bring out the likeness in the drawing. Okay, when it comes to coloring the hair, my approach is very similar to how I draw it. Basically, I will try to group clumps of hair together, and I kind of follow this anime-ish approach where if you watch a lot of anime, you know that they like to identify a single stretch of highlight on the hair, and then they just apply it like that. And I'm doing the same, but on a clump level. So I group clumps of hair together, and then I just apply that style of highlight on it. Because his hair is so wet and waxy looking on the first reference image, I had to take a little bit of a creative liberty, and in styling the hair on the right hand side of the screen. So I'm just referencing both the actually all three of the images, and trying to simplify the hair shapes. You don't want to, unless the hair is the main focus, you don't want to make it too complicated to an extent where it steals the attention away from what you want the audience to focus on, which is the face. Okay, right now I'm just making sure that the silhouette of the character is good. And I'm moving back to the hard edge brush to quickly indicate the shapes that I want. I find that it's just a lot quicker to do so this way as compared to trying to blend out using a soft edge brush. And really, this is just a sketch, and I'm not planning to put too much of my time on the costume. So I'm just finding the quickest way to resolve this, but at the same time still not make it look too half-assed. Okay, once I'm happy with the overall kind of shadow shapes and color shapes, I switch back to my blending brush from before. I'm mostly just using this one brush. I'm actually very lazy as a painter. I don't like to switch between multiple brushes. Just find it hard to keep track. Just try to keep it simple. Introducing a little bit of a red tint on the shadow because it's catching from the lightsaber. However, I assume that the material for this shirt, I don't know, this armor, it's not as reflective as maybe the face, so I'm keeping the red tint to be a little bit more subtle. Okay, rather than hand painting the highlight area, as you can see, if you can squint on the first reference image, the highlight looks a little bit grainy. That's because of the texture, of the cape that he's wearing. So I think a faster, a quicker way to achieve the similar results is to just use a custom brush, a textured brush like this, to just very quickly indicate some form of graininess, not really hand paint it, you know, pixel by pixel. Okay, I was looking at some of his photos that included a lightsaber. I feel that the lightsaber is a little bit too short, so I am elongating it, and I'm also putting in some details for the lightsaber so it doesn't look so hacky. Okay, at this point in time, I feel that the lightsaber is perhaps a little bit too bright. It's attracting too much of the viewer's attention, so I'm deliberately lowering the brightness on the lightsaber so that hopefully the viewer would focus on the character's face a little bit more. At the end of the painting, I like to do adjustments like this using the curves adjustment layer, overlaying a texture of some sort to introduce a little bit more textures into the painting, and also do some basic color correction. And there you have it, a completed caricature. I hope you guys enjoy the workflow. I'll probably upload another caricature that I did. This time of a female character. So do take a look if you want to learn a bit more.